Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Happy Pill Podcast. I'm creating a new series called The Conversations. This is an important time to be talking about the Black Lives Matter movement, and I, for one, am very excited about the guests coming onto the show for this series. There is so much that I need to learn, and I want to open up this platform for all of us who are interested in helping to make lifelong, positive, and sustainable changes with our beautiful sisters and brothers of color and create a world of true equality. These conversations are recorded using Zoom, so you will notice an audio change if you are listening to the podcast version. There is also a video complement that you can find on my website or on my YouTube channel called The Happy Pill Podcast. If you are compelled, please share these conversations with your loved ones. Have these conversations with your loved ones. I hope you enjoy the guests and the information and stories that they are bravely sharing with all of us. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome back, everyone, to the Happy Pill Podcast. I'm excited that you're here, and I'm really, really excited and thrilled to start the conversations, a Black Lives Matter movement. This is a really important series for me as a person to continue to educate myself, to learn, and that we share and listen to our beautiful people of color. So I have a wonderful guest today in Nicole Pemberton, as you see there. Hey, Nicole.
Hey.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I'm so thrilled about what we are going to be talking about. So to give you an introduction into who Nicole is, I've got this beautiful biography that I'm going to read to you. So Nicole's background included dancing professionally on stages around the world, educating dance through many platforms, and presenting her own creative work through various collaborations. Nicole is a creator, visionary, speaker, and writer. She has obtained a diploma and her Bachelor of Arts in Dance and Performing Arts. She has also deepened her studies to complete certification in Reiki levels 1 and 2, crystal healing, and health coaching. She is now a temple body artist through continued mentorship with Sophia Tom. Nicole has spread her wings with fusing expressive arts and wellness to become an embodied goddess coach and birthed the Goddess Moves. Nicole is driven to express and share the wisdom she has learned. She stands for disrupting ancestral patterns, transforming the relationship with the womb/body, divine sovereignty, ignite the pleasure and creativity within us, and advocacy for all. Through the Goddess Moves, Nicole weaves movement alchemy. I love that term. It's amazing. Modern ancestral practices to guide and support massive trajectory shift in one's life through her in-person and online offerings. And we are going to provide this information at the end. So for all you listeners that are tuning in and wanting to know about more of Nicole and what she does, we're going to provide that information at the end of the show. So thank you, Nicole. Thank you for being here. It really is a privilege for me to have you on the show and to start the conversations.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for opening up your platform to dive into these conversations.
Thank you so much. Like I said, this is a privilege for me. I'm here to listen, to learn, and we hopefully will educate as many people that are going to open that space for themselves. So the first question that I always ask: do you feel safe in sharing your story?
Yeah, absolutely. What part of my story do you want to know?
Oh, girl, I want to know all of it. We want to know all of it. We'll do as many episodes as we need to do. I don't. We want to know. You're so diverse. You've got such beautiful history that. Oh my God, honestly, we've talked about this. We might do multiple episodes. So, let's start to get right into it, because right now, the Black Lives Matter movement, is very important right now. It is the hot topic. So this is something that we want to discuss. And that's why I wanted to open up these conversations. So how has this movement shaped your life right now?
Yeah, well, the movement is itself, for me personally, it hasn't affected me as much as it's affecting the world globally, because what it is, Black Lives Matter, the movement, the organization, is a representation of frustration, of frustration of the value of life, of humanity, right? Where the value of life is high, it's being viewed as higher for some and lower for others. And the whole thing about saying Black Lives Matter, it's not denouncing everybody else. It's just bringing to the attention that the value of a Black person's life systematically gets put on the bottom.
Right.
And the movement has sparked, like, listen, you know, we understand that everybody matters, but you need to put us furthermore in the conversation of mattering, of being respected and being treated equally, right? So when I say it hasn't had that much of effect on me personally, because this is something that I've talked about, this is something I live, you know, on a daily basis. This is not new to me, right?
Right.
So whether for others, this may be very new, or you're getting a different lens of perspective of how people live, how people are judged, how it's not just, oh, wow, I like this is happening. For some, unfortunately, their eyes are wide open and they're realizing what has been happening for over 400 years, you know, and some people are perplexed of like, are you kidding me? You're just waking up to this, right? But for people of color, this is not new, right? What is happening with the formation of the organization Black Lives Matter is that it is waking people up. It is reigniting this call for equality socially, economically, personally, professionally, systematically. So it's not enough to just say Black Lives Matter. It's not enough to have a hashtag and put it out there and be like, yeah, I support. Well, what do you support? Like if you can't just say that and then turn around and treat someone with a passive regard for their dignity, right?
Right.
So as much as I applaud the organization, and I applaud that so many people are getting behind it, the work still continues, because it's not just saying it. It's being a part of the open dialogue, like what we're doing here. It's going out and getting the and educating yourself. It's asking the questions, it's having the conversations, and then it gets even deeper because like it's being said, it's systematic.
Yeah.
So when we look at the systems, you know, it goes deep. It goes in our behavior. It weaves in how we view color. It weaves into the language of, you know, if people say, I don't see color. See, that is already passive and disempowering already, because I understand what you say, but I don't see color, right? It's like, okay, I see the human, I see the person.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. However, you are still disempowering the identity and the background of the person that is in front of you. So if you say, I don't see brown, well, you don't see white either. you know.
Yeah. Yep.
Then you basically disavow my experiences, where I come from, because you're not understanding the lens and the perspective and the experience
And the existence.
exactly
Yeah.
of my background,
Mm-hmm.
just as anybody would want their background and their heritage to be respected, right? Everybody wants to be treated equally
Yes.
and fairly and respectfully and with human dignity and and from the highest good and the highest love. Any spirituality or any spiritual practice that anybody subscribes to, the highest form of devotion is love. Now, you can't just say love for X, Y, and Z. It's
Right.
love for all across
Yes.
the board. And that and equality and dignity and respect is the core of what is being called right now. It is the core of from the frustration that people of color are experiencing and saying enough is enough and saying, look, we as a humanity need to realize that we are humans. We are humans with different shades and different backgrounds. And we need to get back to that. There are some people, like, I'm sure your listeners, I'm speaking to the choir, right? It's like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
or wanting to get into a deeper understanding, right? And I'm not trying to convert or convince anybody. Everybody has their own opinion and their own experience. But we're in a space right now where we're being called to listen, to deeply hear, to understand, and to get beyond, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right. What do you mean? What are you saying? And then nobody's being heard,
Right.
right? It's very hard to sit in conversations with opinions that you don't agree with. However, there's got to be an open space to allow a deeper understanding and a deeper awareness and knowing, oh, I never thought of it like this before.
Right.
To be able to come together in this unity that we all want. We all want this unity. We all want to feel safe. We all want to feel nurtured, loved, respected. Right? When you have a family and you look at your baby, or you see a family member, a loved one, all you want is that for them to be loved and to feel safe. So when we play into the space of fear with narratives that that are false, or narratives that skew the conversation one way,
Mm-hmm.
instead of what are we visioning? What is a space of from a place of fear to a place of love? What are we envisioning for ourselves in humanity and in the community? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me. That is why I say the movement of Black Lives Matter, it hasn't had a huge effect on me because I live this.
Yeah.
Right? I support it, right? Because it's really just understanding that, look, people are being put, like if you're on a scale, certain groups of people are being put higher up on that scale.
Let's call it out. White people.
And then other groups of people are being put on the lower scale. So all we wanted, all that we want is to make it even.
Yeah.
So we're all equally valued.
Yeah.
That's it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I absolutely concur. Thank you so much for giving that wonderful explanation. So
Mm-hmm.
let's start right from the beginning about the foundations of racism,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's start there. Let's talk about it. I think some people are unaware
Mm-hmm.
of the origins.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that?
The origins, I feel, stem from a hierarchy. They stem from power. It stems from a belief, and again, a belief of a narrative of fear and a narrative of we are better than, and a disconnection from um, the broader community of being able to integrate. I feel that slavery, shipping people. Actually, no. Let's go even further back.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that even beyond slavery, slavery played a big part in it. But if we go back to
Wasn't it the Spanish Inquisition? Like that's where it
well,
really
yeah,
started?
like when you have different like the settlers, different explorers, and people going out to different countries and basically conquering, saying, okay, this is our land now, and disregarding the first people, the First Nations people, the indigenous people that were there first, right? So instead of coming to integrate and learn from each other and live together, or I don't know, find another piece of land that that's not occupied by anybody.
Right.
There was a system of pillage, conquer, again, a hierarchy of we're going to give you a better life.
Hmm.
And my question is, who asked you to say that they're not living a good life?
Right.
The indigenous people have a very deep, deep relationship to the land. They use and resources are used as they are needed. There is a steeped ancestral tradition that is passed on. There is a steep community. There is family, and there are beautiful spiritual traditions in each culture. Now, because of the rise of Christianity, and nothing's wrong with Christianity, but I'm saying, to put it into context, the rise of Christianity and the rise of nations, other countries, really building themselves up and fortifying themselves in this quote unquote way of life, right? And here they come, to a land where, it's occupied by the indigenous people. And they come in and say, we own this land now, we conquer this land. You either work with us or we're going to move you out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, so when they look at, let's say, when they look at the ancestral practices and things that are not, that are foreign to the eye, and so the people that are conquering look at that and like, oh no, that's not right, that's not appropriate, that's dangerous, that's possession, that's this, no, that's not proper, this is not in alignment with our spirituality. No, we have the right thing, you need to follow us because our way is better, right?
Mm.
And here they are, and here the ancestors are saying no, we are not going to do that. And here they are saying, well, if you're not going to do it, we're going to make you.
Yeah.
And so here's like the first wave of genocide and oppression against the indigenous people in whichever nation, right, around the world, right? So there is this sense of like, well, we know what's best and you don't know anything.
Yeah.
Well, what you're doing is like, wow, that's just looks weird. No, get on the program or we're going to make you. So there has been this, before slavery, there has been this programming. There has been this behavior, you know, and if you go further back, we weren't even like that, right? If you go way back, even further, human society really was a utopia, right? Men and women communities respected each other, lived together, co-create, created beautiful things, respected the land, all of that, right? But there was no hierarchy. There was an equality.
Right.
Right.
And then a sense of entitlement started to come, you know, later on, right? That they have the right, you know, to overtake and overpower, you know, and control and force. Yeah.
So then when you fast forward, when you come to Europeans shipping people from Africa to work on the land for sugar or corn or cotton or domestic work or industrial work, right? Things that were seen as, okay, how do we build up and make more money and build up our like our nation, our community, business and all of that? Well, we need more people. Where can we get more people? So when you have the shipping of, the auctioning off and shipping of people, and they're being shipped in, not like, you know, you stand up, you're on a boat and you go. They're being shipped in massive containers and layered on top of each other with chains on their feet, right? Chains on their hands. And you got a slab of wood right there. And you're there and you're laying like that for weeks, right? There's no airplane, there's no you know, you're traveling by boat. So you're going from the continent of Africa. So like we're in North America right now. We know that it takes almost 24 hours to fly to Africa, right? So by boat, you know, that is weeks. You're being peed on. You're being like, you know, you smell like you're not getting a bath. You're basically being treated as less than, to have a human being lie there like that. And then say, you have no rights. We're going to rename you. You must follow this religion. This is your master. Right? And saying, this is your life now. And it is a privilege that we give you a space to live. And we will give you the scraps so you can eat. You have this, you know, you might have a bed. And then you have the so-called master in a pristine home, food in the fridge, or food in, well, not, it wasn't fridge, but food in, your containers, and you're living the so-called good life, right? So the foundations have been systematically, okay, people that subscribe to themselves to say, well, we are the best, and do whatever research and proof to say, well, well, we think this way, they think that way, we do this way, they look that way, and put them in a place where, okay, well, you work for us now, you're part of the economy, right? And then that's where the programming has been, right? When you get into film, there was a film called Birth of a Nation.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first films that where you have this representation of Caucasian as the savior, as the all good everything, and the Black man, which the person was not even Black, he was painted,
Yeah.
is presented in a space of fear, of robbing, raping, violent, angry, like, don't let that person near your kids, kind of thing. Yeah. So you have that steep, you have that visual representation, and then you have that representation that goes on for a bit, So it's the dangerous narrative that is untrue, that has been perpetuated way past 400 years. So this is why this has been such a deep uprooting of, it's like trying to uproot one of those big fat trees.
Yeah.
Where the roots are so deep. And that's what we're doing right now. We are uprooting those roots that are deep within the earth.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You could see, just hearing you describe all of that, I don't know how someone can think that this is okay.
Mm-hmm.
I sit here with tears, and I am feeling horrified and disgusted at the treatment of people. I'll never understand that logic, that thinking, and I'm grateful for that. But you are so right with having to uproot it. In my head, I'm seeing this beautiful tree, and it's like, in order to uproot it, you actually have to expose it. Mm-hmm. You got to expose these roots, right, to lift it entirely. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing those powerful words. And this is the truth. This is the shit. This is what we need to hear. And we need to hear it. We need to listen, right? Because as you're speaking, there's so much pain that I can feel that's coming through. So all I can say is thank you for sharing that. Moving on to wanted to talk about the misconceptions that have existed, especially in regards to women and women of color. Can we talk about those misconceptions?
Big
question.
Let's start with that.
Do you need a water break? Have a water break.
the misconception, okay, so I'll give you one that's really present right now. The misconception is that all Black women have this deep, fortifiable armor. Like this strength is just uncomparable to any other woman in the world, right? And how the strength is rooted is it is strong, but the misconception is that we can tolerate pain better than our other counterparts. And to an extent, there's truth to that. But again, it's a misconception, because let's say we're in the hospital and we're feeling pain. We are maybe about 70% not taken as seriously as our non-color counterparts, because of that bias, that misconception that is being narrated, saying that we can tolerate pain more. We have a higher tolerance of pain, and that's just untrue. So when you talk about Black women going through the birthing process, right? Why there is a higher mortality rate among Black women, right? We are not being heard. We're not being heard, and we're not giving the same treatment as our Caucasian counterparts.
There's this false assumption then that Black
Exactly.
women can tolerate this, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
we don't need to treat them the same way. We don't need to prescribe the same kind of medications because they're strong Black women. So,
and it's not like I'm not, and I want to preface this by saying I'm not bashing the medical system. But there are statistics and there are stats that back this up. So it's not just it's not just a made up thing or an observation that, you feel this way, but no, we're doing our jobs. I understand everybody in the medical field is doing their jobs. What I'm saying is that based on the statistics and based on people's experiences and based on what is happening, it shows that there is a unspoken bias when people of color, when their bodies, when they come in and they're expressing pain, they're expressing discomfort, sometimes it's not treated as a immediate thing. You need to address this now. Instead of, it can wait, they can handle it. It's like, no. If a white woman comes in there saying, I'm experiencing pain, there's immediate attention. If a Black person comes in there, or a person of color that says, I'm experiencing pain, sometimes there will be like, just sit over here and we'll get to you. So there is a delay, and sometimes that delay costs a life. So again, it comes back to that human value piece. Right. Valuing everyone that needs to be helped, that needs that treatment. Right. So that is one misconception towards Black women. The other is that that when we express our emotions, if we get angry, if we get passionate, or we really, I don't know, we get loud or
expressive.
We're labeled the angry Black woman. As opposed to maybe somebody else that maybe expresses the same way oh, they're really in touch with their feelings. Oh, they're just expressing their emotions. I mean, it can go across the board with, with like how men express themselves in public and then how women express themselves in the public. And you have two different emotions, sorry, the same emotion, but you have two different, very, very different reactions of how they're perceived.
Right. And the judgment on Black women is that they're explosive, they're,
Yeah,
dangerous, they're out of control, they're unstable.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Where is this coming from?
I feel that I personally do not know, but there is, when you look at behavior and what people deemed as proper behavior and what is like unruly, uncivilized behavior, right? And what the unwritten narrative of what that is, right? So to be fully expressive in what you're feeling and to just like, no, not just sit there and take it, or all of a sudden you're disruptive, all of a sudden, well, you're making trouble now, why don't you just go with the flow? And we don't do that. Well, I don't think, and it's not just with people of color, across the board. Across the board, there is, people in every like cultural background, like if you're very expressive, if you don't hold things in, you're going to say what you're going to say, no matter if you're white, Black, Indian, whatever, right? I feel that sometimes it gets highlighted in the people of color in the Black community more for some reason.
And do you find that's more onto the women as opposed to men?
There is a difference. There is a slight stigma towards the women, but I think it's equal for both men and women.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Something you had brought up in our prep that I found quite interesting, and that was the word of imprint.
Mm-hmm.
You had talked about imprinting.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted you to describe this, but also wanted to, if you can explain how that imprinting has affected you yourself and also Black women.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that?
So the imprint is, how I describe it is, it's like how your brain registers and understands, and also stores a memory, right? So let's say you've gone through like the most ecstatic, happy experience, let's say, you've had a beautiful Saturday afternoon. The weather was astounding. It was warm. It was sunny. You're with a group of friends, and the food is good. You're communicating. You're laughing. You're smiling. There's good music on, and it was, everything about that evening was just spectacular. You're like, oh, like this is one of those evenings that's in the books, because that feeling you have, it was just so magical. Or something happens like in that in that evening that just like, you see your parents dancing and laughing and enjoying, and the kids are playing, and you see that moment, and it's like, oh, this is what life is, right? You think this is what life is. This is just beautiful. This is glorious,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is an imprint. Right? That is an imprint on your mind, because when you think back of memories that make you smile and make you feel good, and you want to go back to that feeling, the brain will process that and will remember it. And then as you think of it, it's just like, yeah, you feel those warm feelings, you feel those bubbling sensations, you feel that joy, that presence of what that event was like. So that is creating an imprint on your brain to say, this is what the good life is. This is what I'm striving to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about this larger conversation of inequality and injustice towards people of color, when we talk about the imprint is in the behavior, the imprint is in the language, the imprint is in the environment, the imprint is in like what you see, on how you feel, and how you've been treated. Um, all the imprint is involved in the five senses, right? So that's what I mean by an imprint in the foundation or in a behavior,
Right.
right?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So in regards to into Black women, um, you had told me the story last time of Sarah Bartman.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if this is in any way that can be connected. I don't know. Her story was so freaking powerful, and I was doing my research on her.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that her life in any way was imprinted at all? What she had experienced? Perhaps I'm question. Perhaps I'm not saying that correctly.
Well, she had I mean, how I got to know Sarah Bartman through her life and what she lived through was actually through art. My friend Sharon Harvey, who's a beautiful dancer and choreographer, was doing her master's in dance, and her choreographic piece was the theme, and the subject was on Sarah Bartman and the complexity of her life and how her body was used for scientific research, and just how her body was viewed in that space. Just going through her story and reading and dancing it and really feeling her energy put an imprint on me because of understanding the social context of looking at a Black woman's body and observing it, taking it in, acknowledging it, but also viewing it. For Sarah, she was viewed as an object.
Mm-hmm.
She was viewed as an anomaly. She was viewed as this is what a Black woman's body is. Look at it. Like, she was viewed as a circus act. She was put in the circus. She wanted to be an actress. She wanted to be a movie star. So the person that brought her to Europe, she was in South Africa before, convinced her, come with me. I'll make you a movie star. You'll act, you'll sing, you'll dance. I'll take you there. And that's what she wanted. So she left South Africa and went with this group of people. She was paraded as a circus act because she had big breasts. She had a bigger size bottom that was bigger than most. Her vagina lips, her vulva, were bigger than most, right? So compared to a smaller sized human that was considered the normal size, she was considered as a freak show and was treated as such, right? Why Sarah was it really, it like struck me to the core. And there's a movie about this. It's called The Black Venus or Hottentot Venus. I don't know
Mhm.
if it's still on Netflix or not, but it's a French movie and gives you a visual context. And there's many books written about her. Why this left an imprint on me is because we're in this now. There's a lot of things happening within cultural appropriation of like the fetishing and fantasizing of um, parts, different parts of a woman's body, right? Different styles of hair, lips, small, medium, very pronounced and full, you know, breasts, small, medium, you know, very like bountiful, okay? The hips, right? Either having like straight or having that curve. And then the the fetishing of a bottom, like the perfect onion size, as they say, bottom, right? So what's very interesting is that then, before, all these qualities of a Black woman, of a darker skinned woman, across the board in different cultures, are now being celebrated when for the longest time they were rejected, right? So there is a conversation of that appropriation, you know, or this like this, you know, everybody deserves to love their body as is, you know, however you're shaped and however you're curved, however the body grows into, right? That
Mhm.
is their body. You celebrate it, you love it, you desire it as best as, you know, that's yours,
Mhm.
right? What is interesting in the social narrative is that there's an embracing of features of not just with people of color, but with all people, especially in Caucasians, that is like you're making money off of what you rejected before.
Right.
So there's that deeper dialogue of that and reconciliation in that, you know. And people are like still dying. Like if you look at the trans community,
Yeah.
right? A lot of people, humans that are figuring out who they, whether they want to be a man or a woman, and if they're being a woman, are dying because of illegal procedures to widen the hips, plump up the butt, you know, with substances that are poisonous to the body,
Yeah.
right? Or this idea of, you know, a big butt and a big hips is going to get you more money if you're a model, if you're in the entertainment world. And so this narrative of like viewing the body in a certain way is like, oh, that's supposed to be more beautiful, instead of appreciating what is already there. Like
Mm.
for instance, like hair. You know, there's a big conversation right now of like before, you know, if a Black person had dreads or, you know, braided or natural hair, it was considered not proper.
Wow.
And from kids to adults, right? So there's this like this dialogue of like of seeing what is beauty, being able to own and accept our own beauty as it is, right? So that has been a deeper conversation, right?
Mhm.
So with Sarah Bartman, she left an imprint on me about viewing the body, owning the body, loving all the features. Like that's always been taught since I was a kid. But I got another perspective on that by really looking at some of these things that happened before and
Mhm.
how the conversation is now, on what we as a collective deem, oh, that's sexy, oh, that's nice, oh, that's that. I want that. I can get it. Let me pay for it. Okay. What?
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, how does that make you feel when people want to augment their body based on the appearance of others, and especially of women of color? Is that a fair question to ask?
It's their choice, really. I mean, I'm not one to have an opinion on how you want to feel good in your own body.
Mm-hmm.
Like anybody that does plastic surgery, it's just like, well, if it makes them, if it's a life-saving thing, or if it's just a thing that will make them feel more comfortable and just give them more confidence, as long it like do it safely, get a good, practitioner to do what you need. It's everybody's, it's their own prerogative.
Right. Yeah. And we're going to wind down this first episode
Okay.
already, because we're going to go into the second half and talk more about wonderful things. I don't even want to talk about, because I'm like, oh, these are the questions for the second half. So we're going to just wind up this first episode, let people absorb all of this beautiful information, and then we're going to come back in the second episode. So hang on, my friends. We're going to continue. Thanks for this one, Nicole. Yay for
Awesome.
part 2
Thank
coming
you.
up.
Yay.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you or someone you know is in immediate need of help, please contact your local authorities, distress center, or professional care provider. If you'd like more information on this episode or other topics, go to my website, ursulayourdone.com.